Amtrak 501. Emergency.
Days before Amtrak 501 jumped off the tracks in a deadly crash, engineers and conductors for the brand new route warned their supervisors they did not feel adequately trained, according to a dozen sources familiar with the training. The new route was nonetheless opened on December 18th, derailing on its very first trip. Those sources, including several who were part of the training, tell CNN they believe Amtrak managers rushed the training in order to open the new Point Defiance bypass on time, taking dangerous shortcuts. Engineers and conductors who spoke to CNN say their practice runs were abnormal. 6 people in a car with 3 seats, some riding backwards, preventing them from seeing landmarks and becoming familiar with the route. The engineers and conductors also tell CNN the training runs were done at night to accommodate construction crews during the day. The National Transportation Safety Board, which is investigating the crash, told CNN investigators are aware of the issues that have been raised regarding training of the Amtrak 501 crew members. NTSB released details from its interview with the engineer behind the controls of the train. He missed at least 2 signs just before the crash. The NTSB also said that engineer took 7 to 10 observational training trips, but just 3 operating the equipment, and only 1 of those trips was in the direction the train was traveling when it crashed. According to the NTSB, the engineer also said that he would not have gotten behind the throttle if he had any reservations about his readiness to operate the train. That engineer has not responded to CNN, but more than a half-dozen lawsuits filed so far in the crash all raised questions about crew training as a possible cause. One of the lawsuits was filed by a conductor who was training in the lead locomotive when the train crashed. Anthony Petru is representing him.
The complaints were left first challenged and then unheeded, and the training program went on as Amtrak had planned it, at night with multiple employees on the train at the same time, which I don't think is adequate at all.
The first trip of the new leg on the Cascades route left Seattle's King Street Station the morning of December 18th. At 7:34 a.m. as the train was heading south from Tacoma on this new stretch, it derailed, sending the train's engine and rail cars tumbling onto Interstate 5 below. 3 passengers were killed, more than 100 people injured. Initial reports show that train was barreling at 80 miles an hour on this stretch of track when it was heading into that turn. It should have been going 30.
We are on the ground.
This guy lost track of where he was at, and it's a thing we call situational awareness.
John Hyatt is a former train engineer who has spent the last 24 years investigating train accidents for a law firm, which is now suing Amtrak on behalf of an injured employee. Amtrak has refused to respond to allegations its training was rushed and inadequate, directing questions to the NTSB. Amtrak did say in a statement it is actively taking measures to strengthen the safety of our operations.
Training is money. And in this case, it looks to me like they were worried about money and time, and safety was number 3.
The accident is again raising concerns about what many are calling a failing safety culture at Amtrak. In 2016, an Amtrak train crashed near Chester, Pennsylvania, killing 2 and injuring dozens. After a 1.5-year investigation, the NTSB released its final report, finding that deficient safety management across many levels of Amtrak as the cause, leading NTSB's chairman to conclude Amtrak's safety culture is failing and is primed to fail again. That warning and report were released on November 14th. Just 1 month later, December 18th, Amtrak 501 crashed. The NTSB says its investigation into the crash could take anywhere from 12 to 24 months, but in the meantime, the new president of Amtrak is promising to improve safety at Amtrak across all operations, and especially in training for new routes. Drew Griffin, CNN, Atlanta.